Yeah, Dan, Nicole, it's been a devastating time for these families, and it was tragic when they got the news that Deja Morris and Sequoiya Lamar were shot and killed. It happened Tuesday, August 29th, just after 10 a.m.
On August 29th, 2023, in Huntsville, Alabama, two women were shot and killed outside their home. Their names were Sequoiya Lamar and Deja Morris. They were known on TikTok and YouTube for posting dance videos and relationship content. Their online presence had gained them a moderate following. According to police reports, the suspect was their neighbor, Ty Deshaun Stevens. The incident began with a verbal argument related to a car tire. No physical fight was reported before the shooting. At some point during the dispute, Stevens retrieved a firearm. He discharged the weapon multiple times. 13 shots in total were recorded. Both women were struck by gunfire and pronounced dead at the scene. Stevens fled the area immediately after the shooting. This incident is being treated as a double homicide resulting from a neighbor dispute. There is no known prior criminal history between the parties involved. The case has drawn public attention due to the number of gunshots fired and the rapid escalation of a domestic argument into lethal violence. This is a full story of every move, every brutal detail. If you're captivated by real crime stories that peel back the layers of truth, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us as we uncover real cases, raise awareness, and give a voice to the voiceless. Before we dive into today's story, we want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? And how do you feel as the story unfolds? Welcome to Deadly Crime Unmasked, the show where we expose the shocking crimes that rip through communities and the chilling secrets lurking behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications. You won't want to miss the gripping story that's coming up. Now let's dive in.
1 month since two women were shot and killed on Bunnell Drive in North Huntsville, 24-year-old Deja Morris and 20-year-old Sequoiya Lamar. Police arrested the suspect in their murder, Ty Deshaun Stevens and Anniston, the following week.
Yes, Marie, throughout the day, a lot of people have told me that they're still in shock about the tragic homicide that happened Tuesday that took the lives of the two women, Deja Morris and Sequoiya Lamar.
Sequoiya Moni Lamar. She was born in 2003, making her just 20 years old at the time of her death. She grew up in Alabama, where she spent most of her life surrounded by friends and family who supported her dreams. Sequoiya was not a celebrity by mainstream standards, but in the world of TikTok and YouTube, she was steadily growing her name. What made her stand out wasn't controversy or wild behavior. It was her creativity. She was known for her dancing videos, where she used popular sounds, trending challenges, and personal routines to build a following. She was passionate about creating videos and enjoyed sharing them with her online audience. But dancing wasn't her only skill. Sequoiya was also a talented hair braider. For those unfamiliar, hair braiding is a specialized skill in the beauty industry, especially popular among African American communities. It takes patience, practice, and a good eye for design. Sequoiya combined her creative side with hard work, using her braiding talents not just for fun, but also as a source of income. Many young women in her community looked up to her for her skills, often asking for appointments or advice on styling. Social media was her platform to combine these two passions. Through TikTok and YouTube, she would post not only dance videos, but sometimes showcase her hair work, routines, or even behind-the-scenes clips from her personal life. But one of the most noticeable parts of her online presence was her relationship with Deja Morris. They didn't just post solo videos, they posted together. Couple skits, funny moments, dance and perform as a duo. Their videos reflected a real connection. It wasn't acting. It was their everyday life being shared with their audience. People followed them not because of drama, but because of their energy and authenticity. What you saw was what you got. Young love, creativity, and relatable, everyday moments. Offline, Sequoiya's family described her as hardworking, creative, and peaceful. She wasn't someone who sought trouble, and she certainly didn't have a record of causing problems in her community. By all reports, she kept to herself, worked on her skills, and focused on growing both personally and professionally. While Sequoiya was building her creative name, Deja Monique Morris, who was 4 years older at 24, played a different but equally important role in their shared content and life. Deja wasn't the type to be front and center on social media by herself. Instead, she often featured alongside Sequoiya in their videos. Together, they built what could be described as a small but loyal audience of followers who tuned in to watch their relationship unfold online. Deja was known for her calm nature. Where Sequoiya might have brought the creative energy, Deja balanced that with humor and quiet confidence. Friends describe her as supportive and steady, someone who liked her privacy but was comfortable showing affection online, especially when it involved their couple's content. They often posted everyday life clips, cooking, dancing, small challenges, or just sitting together talking to their followers. These were not flashy influencers with designer outfits and stage backgrounds. They were ordinary people showing ordinary life. It's important to understand that their growing audience came not from controversy, but from relatability. Many of their fans connected to their story. Two young women, openly in love, working on their skills, supporting each other, and making their own way online. They didn't have management teams or fancy production setups. Just two phones, a couple good angles, and genuine interaction. While Deja didn't have a separate large online following apart from Sequoiya, she became a familiar face to those who supported their couple content. Fans left encouraging comments, asking for more videos, more dances, more relationship stories. Together, Sequoiya and Deja were building something steady, small but growing. Regular people using regular tools to share their everyday relationship, their talents, and their happiness with whoever wanted to watch. They had no known enemies. They weren't involved in crime. They didn't live recklessly. They were just living regular lives in Huntsville, Alabama. And that's what makes their deaths even harder to explain. Sequoiya and Deja's relationship started the way many modern relationships do, through social circles and mutual friends. Both of them were active online before they ever met. But once they connected in person, they realized they shared more than just similar interests. Both of them loved music, dancing, and sharing their lives publicly through social media. Their personal bond soon became part of their public image, and it didn't take long before they decided to start creating content together. Soon, the couple realized that funny skits were another good way to keep followers engaged. They would act out short comedy clips based on common relationship issues, exaggerated for humor. Things like pretending to argue over what movie to watch or pranking each other with harmless jokes. These videos helped push their follower count even higher because they were not only entertaining, but also relatable to other couples watching their content. Sequoiya Lamar and Deja Morris were living in an apartment in this quiet part of Huntsville. Their home wasn't fancy or expensive. It was normal, just like many homes in that area. It was the kind of place where people expected to feel safe when they came home. Their apartment was on a street where neighbors likely saw each other every day. One of those neighbors was Stevens. His home was right next door to theirs. This wasn't a stranger or someone passing by on the street. This was someone who lived feet away from them. Their front doors were close enough that they could easily hear each other coming and going. They would see each other in the parking lot. They probably nodded at each other or exchanged small talk at times. Living so close together meant their lives crossed paths regularly. Reports showed that Sequoiya and Deja had been living next to Stevens for some time. It wasn't a recent move. This was not a case of strangers clashing. This was a situation involving neighbors who already knew of each other's presence. They shared the same space, the same street, and the same daily surroundings. They lived within earshot of each other's homes. Their windows likely faced each other. If one person played loud music or worked on their car, the others would hear it. It's the kind of closeness that can either lead to friendship or, as in this case, tension. The neighborhood itself had no history of violent crime, at least not at the level of what was about to happen. Police were not frequently called to that specific street for major incidents. This was supposed to be a quiet residential zone, with families going about their daily routines. There had been no major news stories about fights or shootings in that area before this event. That's part of what made the crime so shocking when it happened. The violence didn't happen in a place already known for trouble. It happened right in the middle of what people thought of as regular, everyday life. Even though neighbors live close to each other, that doesn't always mean they get along. In this case, there had been tension building up between Sequoiya, Deja, and Stevens. It was reported that there had been arguments in the past. Some neighbors said they had heard yelling or disputes before the day of the shooting. The argument that led to the death of Sequoiya Lamar and Deja Morris reportedly began over something very ordinary: car tires. According to multiple reports from law enforcement and witness statements, the dispute involved either the placement of tires, tire maintenance, or related car issues around the property where they lived. The exact details of the disagreement are still under investigation, but what is clear is that the problem started small and escalated very quickly. The disagreement was related to tires being placed or stored near shared property lines or parking spaces. It is not clear whether Sequoiya and Deja were storing spare tires outside their home, or if they were simply moving or working on their car at the time. However, sources confirmed that the issue involved car tires, and it eventually led to a confrontation between the two women and their neighbor, Stevens. It is possible that Stevens had complained about the placement of the tires before, or that there had been other arguments leading up to this particular event. Although there is no official record yet of ongoing disputes, witnesses mentioned that the argument that day did not sound like a first-time disagreement. On August 29, 2023, in Huntsville, Alabama, it was a regular evening in their neighborhood, with no warnings or signs of what was about to happen. What started as a simple disagreement between neighbors quickly turned into a violent crime that took 2 lives and sent shockwaves through their community and online followers. The argument that triggered this deadly event was reportedly about a car tire. Ty Deshaun Stevens, the man accused of crime, lived close to Sequoiya and Deja. Sources reported that there had been tension between them before, but that evening, the argument became more serious than usual. Witnesses in the area later told investigators that they heard voices being raised and shouting coming from the direction of Sequoiya and Deja's apartment. The dispute quickly escalated, with no one able to calm the situation. In the middle of the argument, Ty Deshaun Stevens pulled out a gun. It wasn't just a threat. Within moments, he opened fire. 13 gunshots echoed to the neighborhood, sending anyone nearby into hiding or rushing to call for help. Both Sequoiya and Deja were hit by the gunfire. Sequoiya Lamar and her partner Deja Morris were both pronounced dead at the scene. After the killings of Sequoiya Lamar and Deja Morris, Ty Deshaun Stevens fled the scene. Law enforcement officials launched an immediate search for him. His decision to run made the case even more urgent for investigators. The fact that he used a firearm in a deadly dispute with his neighbors raised immediate concerns about public safety, not only in the local community, but in nearby areas where he could have traveled. The police knew they had to act fast. A man who had just shot and killed 2 people could easily harm others or disappear entirely. They immediately issued an all-points bulletin across local, county, and state law enforcement. This meant that every police department in Alabama and neighboring states was alerted to be on the lookout for Ty Deshaun Stevens. For days, law enforcement tracked possible leads. They spoke with friends, relatives, and associates of Stevens. They checked traffic cameras, local motels, gas stations, and any location where he might stop to get supplies. The main goal was to find him before he could leave the state or disappear for good. It didn't take long before they got a break. Several days into the search, police received information that Stevens was spotted in or near Anniston, Alabama. Anniston is about 90 miles southeast of Huntsville. It's not far enough to be out of reach, but far enough to show that Stevens had a plan to get away from Huntsville after the murders. Law enforcement quickly moved in. Multiple agencies worked together, including the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force, which often helps local police departments catch dangerous suspects. These kind of task forces specialize in tracking down people who don't want to be found. After confirming his location, officers approached carefully. With a double murder on his record, they knew Stevens could be dangerous. The goal was to capture him alive and safely, without anyone else getting hurt. Ty Deshaun Stevens was arrested and taken into custody within days of the double homicide. Following his arrest, the case moved quickly through the initial legal stages, and authorities announced that he would face 2 counts of capital murder. The most significant update in the legal timeline occurred in October 2024, when a grand jury formally indicted Stevens. The grand jury process is a legal step where a panel of citizens reviews evidence presented by prosecutors to decide whether there is enough probable cause to bring criminal charges. In this case, the grand jury agreed with the prosecutors and moved forward with a formal indictment. Stevens was officially charged with capital murder in connection to the deaths of Sequoiya Lamar and Deja Morris. With the indictment confirmed, prosecutors made it clear that they would seek the death penalty. This was announced shortly after the grand jury's decision. Capital murder charges are the highest level of criminal offense in Alabama and can result in either life imprisonment without parole or execution by lethal injection. In this particular case, the district attorney's office decided to pursue the most severe possible punishment. The death penalty was placed on the table due to the nature of the crime, a double homicide committed in a residential setting, reportedly without provocation beyond a verbal argument. In addition, the prosecutors publicly stated that no plea deal will be offered to the defendant. This statement was direct and strategic. By removing the possibility of a plea agreement, the district attorney's office made it clear that they were not interested in negotiating a lesser sentence or charge. This move is often reserved for cases involving extremely violent crimes, where the prosecution believes the evidence is strong enough to secure a conviction at trial and the crime itself is too serious to allow for leniency. The trial date was officially set for August 17, 2026, nearly 3 years after the crime occurred. This timeline accounts for pre-trial motions, case preparations, discovery, and other procedural requirements. In capital murder cases, the process tends to move slower due to the complexity of the charges and the stakes involved. Each side, prosecution, defense, is required to build a detailed case, submit evidence, and make various legal arguments before the trial can begin. The longer timeline also provides space for mental health evaluations, forensic reviews, and witness coordination. Bail was denied during the early court appearances. The judge ruled that Ty Deshaun Stevens will remain in custody until the trial. The bail denial was based on two primary reasons. Flight risk. Prosecutors argued that Stevens posed a risk of fleeing if released. After the shooting, Stevens had initially fled the crime scene and was later located and arrested near Anniston, Alabama, a different area from crime location. This behavior indicated the potential for future flight if given the opportunity. Nature of the crime. The court considered the seriousness and violence of the offense. 2 individuals had been shot multiple times and killed in their own home. The alleged act involved a firearm and was reportedly carried out during a dispute over a nonviolent issue, a car tire. These facts contributed to the court's decision to deny all requests for bond or conditional release. Since the indictment, Ty Deshaun Stevens has remained in pretrial detention, awaiting the scheduled court proceedings. No additional legal motions for bond reconsideration have been approved. Court records indicate that Stevens has entered a plea of not guilty, and his legal team is preparing to contest the charges in open court. The upcoming trial in 2026 is expected to involve witness testimonies, forensic evidence, social media data from the victim's online profiles, and surveillance footage from the area. Legal analysts expect the case to draw attention due to the victim's online popularity and the uncommon nature of the alleged motive. As of now, the prosecution continues to build its case around the idea that the killings were intentional, unprovoked, and deserving of the highest penalty allowed under Alabama law. Defense strategies remain undisclosed to the public. The case remains open, and updates will continue until the trial begins. The murder of Sequoiya Lamar and Deja Morris caused immediate reaction online, especially from the communities where they were well known. These 2 young women were not just ordinary people to many of their followers. They had built a small but loyal audience on platforms like TikTok and YouTube. Their fans knew them for their creative videos, relationship skits, dancing routines, and ordinary moments they chose to share with the world. The sudden announcement of their death shocked both their close followers and many members of the local Huntsville community who were familiar with the couple in real life. Shortly after the news broke online, many fans began to post their reactions in the comment sections of the couple's previous videos. Followers who had watched them grow over time went to their TikTok and YouTube profiles, writing final messages of farewell under older posts. Even though these videos were originally meant for fun or entertainment, they quickly became memorial spaces filled with RIP messages, broken heart emojis, and words of disbelief from those who felt connected to Sequoiya and Deja through the content they had enjoyed together. It didn't take long for hashtags to start circulating. The main hashtags included phrases like hashtag justice for Sequoiya and Deja, hashtag stop the violence, and hashtag gone too soon. TikTok users who had previously followed the couple's videos used these tags to share memories or favorite clips of them together. Some followers went as far as reposting older videos of the couple to keep their memory alive, often captioning them with phrases like, "They didn't deserve this," or "This shouldn't have happened over a tire." These hashtags helped spread the story to a wider audience, reaching people outside the original fan base who were just learning about the murder for the first time. Beyond their online following, the local community in Huntsville, Alabama, where the crime took place, also showed clear signs of shock. The idea that a disagreement between neighbors would turn into a double murder forced many locals to start asking questions about how such a situation could happen so quickly and so violently. Local news outlets covering the story reported that nearby residents were disturbed not only by the event itself, but also by the fact that it involved someone they might have seen around before, their neighbor, lled Stevens. As the story gained more attention, the topic of gun violence became part of the larger conversation. Social media posts about Sequoiya and Deja often expanded into wider discussions on how conflicts between neighbors could easily escalate when firearms were involved. While many people mourned the specific tragedy of these two lives being lost, others started using the case to highlight the broader issue of personal disputes turning into deadly violence in America. The issue of neighbor conflicts was not new, but this particular case put a spotlight on how fast an argument could turn fatal when weapons were nearby. Several users on platforms like X, formerly Twitter, and Facebook used this case to talk about their own fears of arguments escalating with people living nearby. Some individuals wrote that they had also experienced tense arguments with neighbors, but worried about what could happen if things ever got out of control. The murder of Sequoiya and Deja became an example that people use to warn others about the unpredictable dangers of neighborhood disputes. Offline, the reaction didn't stop with social media. People in Huntsville took steps to honor the two victims beyond the internet. Community members organized small memorials in the area where the shooting took place. These memorials included candles, flowers, framed photos of Sequoiya and Deja, and handwritten notes left by friends, family, and supporters. These memorial spots became gathering points for those who wanted to reflect on what had happened and show their respect to the victims. Although these memorials were small and mostly community-led, they showed that the impact of the murders went far beyond TikTok videos or internet headlines. Friends of the couple also began to organize online tributes, especially through live streams or share video compilations that celebrated the positive moments Sequoiya and Deja brought to their followers. People created tribute videos on TikTok using audio clips of the couple's own voices, combined with video montages of their happiest moments online. These videos were often shared along with links to fundraisers or donation drives, which aimed to support the victims' families in the aftermath of the crime. In total, the public response to the deaths of Sequoiya Lamar and Deja Morris combined both the online and real-world spaces. Fans, strangers, and neighbors all took part in sharing reactions, creating hashtags, spreading awareness, and honoring the couple's memory through organized efforts. While the legal process moved forward with the suspect, lled Stevens, in custody, the couple's followers kept their memories alive by continuing to circulate their videos and speaking out about the dangers of everyday conflicts turning violent. This reaction showed that although Sequoiya and Deja's lives were ended by violence, their impact through online content and personal relationships continued beyond their deaths.
Me and my family, my boys, mother, dad, husband, everybody, we suffered a great loss. We really just trying to pick up the pieces since the funeral and everything. It's been really hard and a tough struggle dealing with this.
If the story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together, we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.